What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Welcome into episode number 237 of the allegedly award-nominated, still number 9 ranked, I think, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, live from Underground Studios. It's KB and Deej. Deej is in the building. It's the start of the PLL playoffs. We're recording this on Friday afternoon, and this will be in your YouTube feeds while we're on our way to Boston.
Yep.
We'll be in Foxborough, Boston, whatever you want to call it. We'll be there. Come say what's up. Let's enjoy these playoffs. We got a doozy of a schedule. We're going to talk about fate of a sport later on in the show. And if you missed it, we got the one and only recurring guest, head coach, friend of the program of the Redwoods Lacrosse Club, Nat St. Laurent, on the pod. He gave us 40 minutes during a playoff prep week.
Yep.
Come on. He gets down with us big time. Some big time quotes, drops, and a call out that is in the works of being managed. Kyle Harrison is allegedly coming on the pod at some point. We're working on the scheduling, but he is confirmed coming on the podcast, which is he's been a white whale since 2019, since before DJ was my co-host. We've been trying to get Kyle Harrison on the show, and now it looks like it is closer and closer to being a reality. Once we have those dates, you'll fucking know about it, because we are very excited to have Uncle Kyle on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, and I think floodgates open from there. I think bringing him on really expands, and we can start bringing on some other names we've been trying to bring on for a while, and we'll really take off.
Oh, yeah. So stay tuned for that, but also stay tuned for Nat St. Laurent later on in the show. But make sure you guys are following us on the socials, because we're going to have playoff coverage for you all weekend long, live from Gillette Stadium at OTB Laxpod, Twitter, Instagram. Follow DJ on Twitter at SCS_NextGreat. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Check out the website, undergroundsportsphiladelphia.com, for all of our written content. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews, because it does go a long way for more people to find the show. It goes a long way for us to just legitimize what we're doing, and we just want to keep making kick-ass content for you guys. So make sure you subscribe, as I do some live editing here, because I just noticed that words were way too close to each other on the ticker. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel as well, because you'll get full video episodes, full video interviews. Last week, Joe Resiteritz. This week, Nat St. Laurent. We're getting back on our interview grind, back on our guest grind. You get full video episodes of OTB and all your favorite Underground Sports Philadelphia podcasts. Smash that like button, ring the bell icon, comment down below your predictions for Boston weekend, who you think is winning the PLL championship, and of course give us this is what you guys can do for us, because lacrosse is becoming very much year-round, and DJ is going to be here next week for the NLL draft, because that's on Saturday before we go to DC for the PLL semifinals. If you are an avid box lacrosse fan, avid NLL fan, drop some guys we should go check out on film in the comment section. Like, being so serious, comment down below top 5 guys we should go look up on film that are going to be NLL draft prospects, because we're going to need to brush up, because we don't really know too many guys that are draft eligible now. Like, now that, both COVID years have kind of gone by a little bit, we're kind of getting back to the normalcy of the NLL draft and who's eligible and everything. So let us know, because outside of Brett Dobson, we don't really know too much about these guys. So drop down in the comment section who we should be checking out for this upcoming NLL draft, which is quickly approaching. Shout out to our sponsors who make this show happen. Tomahawk Shades, please get back to us so we can find DJ's lost package. I was going through something, not with Tomahawk Shades, but something similar where one of my packages was recently lost. I was getting very distraught because it's some kick-ass, hashtag not a sponsor, a certain company that has a swoosh for their icon socks to go with my fresh new booth kicks. And the socks still hadn't arrived, and the only, like, high socks I own are Adidas. Not a sponsor. So I've been waiting. They are finally here. But Tomahawk Shades, please get back to us. DJ needs his shades because he's going to go blind during these playoffs out in the sun without his Tomahawk Shades. Thankfully enough, last night we postponed recording until you were here because we were both exhausted from our day on Thursday. I literally had to do my fantasy draft and everything last night for fantasy football with my blue light glasses on. I wasn't even staring at a screen, but I needed that, like, placebo of my eyes need rest. So let me put these blue light glasses, and it kind of worked. Whether or not it was placebo or actual, it worked. But you guys can get your own at tomahawkshades.com. Use code USP for 25% off your order at tomahawkshades.com. Kenwood Beer, new merch in the store. The Kenny rope hats, they look beautiful. Deej can attest now that he's seeing it in person. The rope hats, beautiful. It's a bad day to be a Kenny hat or a shirt, beautiful. Go cop them. They're not going to be around for long. Go get them. They're going to sell out quick. And use the all-new improved Kenny tracker to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia area to enjoy these PLL playoffs. You got to be 21 or older to do so. And, of course, please drink responsibly. And the homies over at Bino Board. Go to binoboard.com. DJ, I don't know if you saw on their Instagram. Starting this past week and every week leading up to the World Cup, Bino will be dropping a new World Cup-inspired board.
I did see that.
Bonkos.
I'm excited, dude. I might wait those out before I get my custom board. Maybe I'll just get one of those.
Every board coming with a World Cup-inspired carrying case as well when you order those. Go to binoboard.com and use code BINOUSP for 10% off your order at binoboard.com. It's been a long time since we've had games, Deej. It's been a long, long bye week. We are finally on the precipice of the PLL playoffs, though. We've got some kick-ass matchups, and we don't have anything to recap. So we're going to dive right into our postseason breakdown, our quarterfinals breakdown. Let's start with that early game. 12:30, I believe, is the start time, if not noon itself.
It's noon.
It's an early one. We're going to probably be zombies for the first half of that.
I'm sure.
But noon gets kicked off with Chrome, first postseason appearance in franchise history.
Yep.
Taking on the 2022 version of the defending champs, a.k.a. the 2.8% Chaos Lacrosse Club. This matchup is going to be physical. It's going to be gritty. These two teams were tied 9-9 in the fourth quarter in Denver. It got chippy on the sidelines between Mike Manley and Chase Frazier. I don't know if you saw Chase's tweet yesterday when they put the percentages out for everything. He said 2.8%. At least that's higher than my GPA.
Chase! I love that. That's like the best chirp.
Yes.
That is like the best chirp. That's like some Eminem level chirping. Like, oh yeah, you can say what you want, but like I'm gonna just chirp myself harder, and then you have absolutely nothing to say. Like, he's probably gonna come out and drop double his GPA in points.
So we have a locker room full of champions, one way or another, with Chaos, and we have a locker room full of first-time PLL postseason appearing Chrome Lacrosse Club. Coach Sudo, head coach of the year nominee. I'm very excited for this matchup simply because I think a lot of people are going to underestimate Chaos yet again. We were talking about this on our way back from the airport. This game is going to be a lot closer than people are like making it out to be. Like, it would not shock us if this is a one-goal game, if this is an overtime game, or if somehow, some way, Chaos just pulls through and wins this game.
But then I also said I wouldn't be surprised if it's a complete blowout either. Like, I don't think we're going to get one of the two extremes. It's either going to be a complete blowout or it's going to be a way closer game than what people think it should be. We're not going to get this 5, 6, 7 goal game like people think. We're either going to get a game where Chrome wins by like 10 or 11 or they win by 1 or 2. It's going to be extremely close, and that is all dependent on Chaos. We've seen how Chrome has played all year. They've played very consistently all year. They've done the same things all year. We know what to expect from that side of the ball. What we get from Chaos is like reaching in the mystery bag with your eyes closed, blindfolded, with your back turned. You literally have absolutely no clue what's coming out. You just get what you get, which, I mean, I kind of like it, you know, and moving into the playoffs, as long as they're positive. They mentioned that in pressers a couple weeks ago that they felt very good about where they were, even though they didn't come out on a win. They felt good with that last game. It's scary facing a team that has won a championship before. Yeah. They've been here. They know. They're not really concerned.
Less than a year removed from a championship.
Like, when I look at the PLL, there are 3 teams that I think approach the season differently than everyone else. It's the Woods, the Whips, and Chaos. They look at it as, we just have to get to the playoffs. Everyone else is like, we need to ball out to get our best possible seed, to do this, do that. Those 3 are like, let's just get to the playoffs and we'll figure everything else out.
And I think the 2 teams that we'll talk about last, they're getting into that stratosphere.
Yes.
I think starting this year. It's like, let's just get there. Doesn't kind of really matter where, but let's just get there. But they're just starting to get into that stratosphere, where those other 3 teams you mentioned have been there since year 1.
And I would say our homie's team that he loves so much is a little bit closer than the other team in that respect. I literally like almost have them there. Like, I pretty much would say next year they're a team that's looking to just get in, and they don't care about their seed. So it's going to be interesting to see the different dynamic between emotions and how they approach this mentally and like an attitude wise. Like, coming out having no experience at all and like not really supposed to be in the position you're in. How do you handle that on the Chrome side? And then Chaos being in a position they didn't expect to be in themselves. And, you know, they put a lot of expectations on themselves and where they wanted to be, fell short. How do they bounce back and respond to that now that they're, you know, expected to be a 1 or 2 seed and they're literally hanging on by threads?
Yeah. I think this matchup comes down to 3 key factors. One, which is one that our boy Austin Owens wrote about on the PLL website, Josh Byrne versus JT Giles Harris. That's kind of a gimme, along with the flip side of that being Jack Rowlett versus Logan Wisnauskas. I think the other thing to take away from this is, like, yes, Chaos had a down year, and a lot of people are probably pegging that on the defense and seeing, like, Blaze wasn't the Blaze from last year. It's because they were forced to play more defense, because Chaos all year didn't even eclipse 100 goals this year. Was part of that because for the first 3-4 weeks they were running, you know, a practice squad team almost. Yes. But it took a while for their regular guys to get going and clicking, and they only won 1 game with those guys. Or did they win 2 with everyone back?
I think it's 2 with
everyone back. So,
but I mean, I told you that was going to happen.
Yeah.
You called me crazy.
You called me crazy. You're like, no, they're fine.
They've been playing all year. They're in shape. I'm like, nah,
well,
man.
Certain guys were fine. It just didn't click as a team.
Yeah.
I think Dane looked
like
Dane Smith
Dane
for...
and Josh have looked fine.
Dane looked like Dane for like 90% of the season.
I would even say Connor Field has come back and looked fine for the Archers.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I would say, like, those...
Chase has been fine.
For the most part, those guys look okay, but... I don't know. It's playing field and playing box is different, especially in the team dynamic, and throwing those guys in 4 weeks, 3-4 weeks in is tough.
My other thing is that the Chaos leading ground ball getter is CJ Costabile versus Connor Farrell, who has 90 ground balls this year for Chrome, where CJ has 29.
That's a tip scale in
for sure.
terms of, you know, Connor being face off, literally more than 60% of his ground balls are right off the face to himself, where there's literally no one around. So there's a little bit of that, and Chaos hasn't had a consistent, reliable face-off guy, so they don't have anyone at that par that's having that opportunity at quick ground balls. Like, you look across every other team, they're on par with Connor Farrell, and it's probably their face-off guy who has 90 so ground balls. Trevor's got almost 100. Nardella has almost 100. TD's creeping up at I think he has 70 some, 80 some. That's just, that's how that position goes. So like, I understand why it looks that way, because one, CJ takes face off, so like he's slower in having the pole, or he's on the wing, so like his opportunities at ground balls are either coming out, one that gets pushed out on the wing, or making a defensive play, which is a lot harder than they make it look. So I understand the disparity there, but it is still a concern.
Yeah.
Because Chaos isn't getting a lot of possession already,
right.
So you have to create possession, and ground balls is a great way to create possession.
And then the other thing is cause turnovers. Mike Manley's been a force this year. And then you have Chaos's leading turnover creator. It's the boy Pat Resch.
I mean,
which going into the season, if I would have told you way back in May with, predictions, if we were to have gone this detailed in them, that the 2022 leading player for cause turnovers on Chaos Lacrosse Club is Pat Resch.
I mean, I would laugh at you.
You would have called me crazy.
I would have laughed at you.
Absolutely. I think 99% of people would have called me crazy, and the only people that wouldn't have called me crazy were Pat Resch and Pat Resch's dad.
And maybe Andy Zowers.
Yeah.
Honestly. But I mean, I like that. Like it says a lot about not only the trust they have in their short stick D mids, but how good they are. It's hard to create turnovers with a deep hole, let alone a short stick, and to do it 9 times in a season with as good as offensive players as the PLL has. Like, that says something. But it also says this is hard for me though, because I don't want to say that Jack, Jared, and BK aren't as good of defenders as anyone else, like Mike Manley or Garrett Epple, who have 15, 13 cause turnovers. They just don't get dodged on in the same way. When a guy dodges on Jack or Jared, they do it very methodically. They think about it, and they use a move that's either going to work or they're going to get enough space to get the ball off. That's it. Like, there's no room for error when they go against those guys, and they know that, so they take precaution going against that. So it's kind of like that goes against their numbers as well. Like, I always tell people, numbers don't lie, but they don't tell the full truth either.
I think if Chaos wants to win, they got to hit 2s.
Yeah, I would agree.
They got to hit 2s, because Chrome are not, they're not a team that relies on necessarily needing to hit the 2. They can. They have guys that can do it, but Chaos has the ability to shift a game into their favor with guys like Troy Ray, Jared Newman, CJ Costabile. The list goes on and on. Like, I'm blanking because there's so many guys on that team that can hit from 2. We've seen Josh Byrne multiple times this year wind up from 2 and miss, but he's taken those opportunities. Mac O'Keefe can hit from 2.
Dan could if he really tried.
Yeah, they have range on this team to hit from almost anywhere. The most recent matchups for these teams, Week 9, obviously, we talked about, where it was 9-9 going into the fourth quarter. Chrome won 13-9. Chaos beat them last year, August 1st, 2021, all the way back in Week 7 of the season, 14-12. And then in the bubble, Chaos beat Chrome 19-14. To me, you can't even look at the 2021 or the bubble matchups because that Chrome team was so different. The one that they really need to study film on is this one. And if Chaos want to be in this in the fourth quarter, Max Adler's got to be facing off going into the fourth quarter at least 42%. Because that'll show that they're getting at least a bit more possession. Because we know how good Chaos's wing play can be. And that'll show that they're kind of like gritting away at this thing. Max Adler can't be facing off under 30%, under 40% if Chaos want to win this game. Will it happen? Who's to say?
It's hard for me though, because I know that the driving force of this Chaos team is their defense and Blaze. And they could go out and play like crazy, and Max could go 35, 36% from the X, and they could win. And like that's why it's so hard to talk about this with this team. And I'd say the only other team that has that same effect is the Archers.
Mm-hmm.
But with them, it's their offense. Their offense is so good that when they get the ball, they just make it count, so they don't necessarily need to win faceoffs. And Chaos is the same way. Like, they just play in a way where there's so much fluidity between offense and defense, and just clearing the ball, getting it out quickly, and taking advantage of their opportunities when they get them, that they could be a team that wins with losing the faceoff back.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a fun matchup. Next matchup, we're going to try to speed through the rest of these and get you guys to our interview with Nat St. Laurent. Speaking of Nat, Redwoods Archers in the second game on Saturday. This is the 3v6. Redwoods finished 4-6. Archers finished 6-4. As weird as it sounds, I feel like these two teams are eerily even. Although Redwoods won't have Eddie Glazner in this game, so that kind of takes away a bit of, that equalness for me. But I feel like these two teams, in a lot of ways, whether, one team is better at this than the other one, but then this team is better than this one at the other, there's a lot of equalness about these teams. And in their last three matchups that are here on the breakdown, obviously this season, July 1st, it was a 10-9 win for the Archers back in Week 5. In Week 7 of 2021, the Archers won 15-12. And then in the playoffs in 2019, Redwoods beat Archers 16-12. Obviously, that game in Ohio that DJ and I were both at, but didn't even know each other existed at the time.
Yep.
This game's going to be predicated, quite honestly, I think, at the face-off stripe. TD has a clear advantage just in terms of knowing that PLL cadence, and, obviously he's got the full season under his belt pretty much, as compared to Justin Ignacio, who has gotten better as the season's gone on, but I certainly trust TD at the stripe. And then I think this is a goalie battle. I think a big portion of this game is going to come down to Jack Kelly and Adam Gittleman.
I could see that.
Who both had eerily similar seasons, looking at their stats.
Yeah. They did, and they've been big parts of their teams and keeping their defenses in it, who have both dealt with some wavering problems of their own. Like, for the Woods, it's been mostly injury stuff that's been their problems, but Archers, it's just been like communication, like little small things like that. But Gittleman has done a great job of reining those guys in and making sure that they're good to go. My thing with this one is my guy, RP Tree. He's got to be going. He's got to be going. Like, he's got to beat Graham, which is unreal to say. Like, we're talking about Graham Hosick, and we're talking about Rob Pennell beating Graham Hosick, but he has to. That's the thing he has to do, is he has to step up, and he's got to play the way he's been playing since Week 2. Like we've talked about 1,000 times. Me possibly saving their season and turning things around for him, but
which Nat may or may not have confirmed.
Possibly. Tune in later and you'll find out. But yeah, it's seriously, like he's been a rock star ever since Week 2, and that has to continue. This team has only won games or been close in games that he's been going. We have other help. There's Ryder, there's Jules, Miles, Serge, etc., Charlie. But if Rob's not going this year, it doesn't work. And, same thing last year. You can look back to last year. If Jules is not going, that team's not doing anything. This is just kind of how the Woods roll. They kind of have that one guy that sparks it for them, and other guys roll off of that. This year it's Rob. So that's what I'm looking at is Rob versus Graham.
Not that it's really a head-to-head matchup. I'm just looking at Ryder matching Tom Schreiber's energy. If Ryder's cooking, Tom's probably going to be cooking. It's who's going to go pound for pound with one another. That's what I'm going to be paying attention to, which is going to be a lot of fun to see playoff Ryder again.
Yeah, and big MJ15. I mean, he loves Gillette. Anytime he's there, he does something crazy. I mean, he had a nice All-Star game this year.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to last year. He had first goal of the year of the entire PLL season was a diver across the crease. I mean, man was literally at Nick Morocco's head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, his entire body was at Nick Morocco's head, and he stuffed it in, dunked it in. It was awesome. Like this is a place he loves to play, so he'll be on lookout as well.
And we got the Dogs and the Bulls in the nightcap at 5:10 p.m. Eastern Time. MVP snub, Kieran McCardle, but nominated for Attackman of the Year, which was very exciting to see. Taking on Jeff Teat, Brian Costabile, and the rest of the Bulls in a rematch that we got last season. No, we didn't get this in the playoffs, but we did get this earlier this year, which was playoff-like atmosphere. That's why I'm thinking that way. Water Dogs won 16-15 in overtime out in Denver. Week 8 in 2021, which I believe was Albany, if I'm not mistaken. That was Albany weekend. 10-9, Water Dogs win. And then in group play back in the bubble, completely different Atlas team, obviously. Atlas won 11-10. So these games between these two teams have been eerily close. They play each other really, really well. You have MVP candidate Trevor Baptiste at the stripe, who finished the regular season facing off at 70%, which is the best mark since Beast faced off at 75%, I believe was the mark back in 2015 when he won the MVP. I'm going to be interested to see who gets the nod at face-off in this, simply because Water Dogs have two guys who can go toe-to-toe with Trevor and be in the game. Obviously, they're not going to beat Trevor, but when you have guys like Jake Withers and Zach Tucci on your roster, that's an advantage and a mind game you can kind of play if you're Andy Copeland. So we'll see who they go with. I don't know who they're going to choose.
Dare I say they go wild and play them both? For going with
I would like to see it.
Like a 2 running back type of system where they have the change of speed and the change of pace, or like the change of strength. Like you see that a lot with like high school and college is they'll have multiple face-off guys and they'll use it as a change of pace thing.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have a guy who used to wrestle that's kind of a brute strength guy to go in and rough up. You have a guy who's literally just a face-off guy going in to win it. You got a guy who's speed, who's trying to, offer a different type of speed, or a guy who's going to go in and just jam them and make it a ground ball. Like, you have so many different options, and sometimes that's useful, and against a guy like Trevor, that could be more than useful. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see them dress too and use them in kind of that tandem 1-2 punch.
Very even in the scores per game category for both of these teams this year, 13 to 12.8. The scores against average leans a little in favor of Atlas, and obviously Water Dogs didn't have Dylan Ward for the beginning part of the season. Not that Matt DeLuca was bad, but it was just there was a bit of an adjustment period in the Baltimore game I think they played when Dylan Ward started and then DeLuca came in. Mm-hmm. It was a little, mix and mash there, but 13.3 scores against is still not a bad mark for a team in this league. This is my matchup of the weekend. I think these two teams play each other really, really close and really, really well every time they're out there. I think this is going to be a heavyweight fight to just see who punches a ticket to go have another heavyweight fight in DC next week. But this is the game that I have circled on the calendar, ready to rock and roll with this one.
I can't believe you were able to circle one. I mean, I've talked.
It was tough.
I've talked to you about this. I genuinely think this year's quarterfinals is better than last year's.
Oh,
which
hands
is
down.
Insane to say, because you had Paul playing his old team in Atlas back on the Cannons. You had the Woods playing the Whips, and you had who was it?
Archer's Chaos.
Archer's Chaos. And that was right after the Connor Fields and Ian McKay trade. So they had beef going on. We obviously know the story behind Woods whips, so I don't have to explain that. But then you look at this year, and you have struggling Chaos, who everybody thinks should possibly be repeating for a title, hanging on as a 7th seed, with newfound kids on the block from we don't even know where, Chrome, at the 2 seed. You got arguably what I think is probably the closest to game of the weekend, just because both these teams were expected to be in the top 3. Archers barely squoze into the top 3, and then Redwoods had a very disappointing season. They're at 6. Both these teams are disappointed in their season, and one of them is going home. And they know that. That's going to be a huge game. And then you look at the one we just talked about, arguably has the most energy into it in terms of teams who don't really have anything to win or lose, but are just going to go out and play hard because that's who they are. So I think this might be the best quarterfinal made in professional lacrosse history.
Bold statement. We got some bold statements from our guy Nat St. Laurent, so stick around, hold tight, buckle up, get your popcorn ready, because we got Nat St. Laurent on the pod for you guys coming right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we teased it on Twitter, and you know how we do for the playoffs. We get those guests that you want to hear from. We went pretty guestless all season, just diving into the games, diving into traveling, but it's the playoffs. We got to go big or go home, and what better way to kick off the 2022 PLL postseason than with recurring guest, head coach of Redwoods Lacrosse Club, Nat St. Laurent, joining us. Coach, welcome back to the show. Happy to have you, and roll Woods.
Yeah, roll Woods. It's great to be back. It's playoff time. It's go time. So I'm excited to be here and rap with you guys a little bit. Appreciate you having me on again.
First things first, we were talking before we started recording, and you brought up, and we brought this up on last week's episode, which everybody should go listen to. This postseason is eerily similar to 2019. Starting off against this Archer squad. Let's dive into that. Obviously, a 1-goal loss to them in the regular season this year, but to have that, identity of 2019 of starting off against the Archers, where that game was in Ohio, this one's in Boston. What are some things that you guys learned from playing against the Archers this year that they do so well that you're looking to kind of combat from that first game?
Yeah, it's crazy. 2019, this was the opening round, and but this is they're a different team, we're a different team. We played them once. Always, I feel like every time we play these guys, it's a tight game. But the thing that I'm really impressed with is their skill level. I mean, what are you talking about, right? It's a PLL, everybody's great, but they pass the ball with such fluidity, and it's like ease. It's in and out of their stick. It's always in the right spot. So when they do need to catch and shoot, it's gone in and out of their stick right away. Because they move the ball so well. They're great in the middle of the field in terms of transition. They've got in-close guys and pulls. I think the young man that they got there right now in Connors is kind of like the up-and-coming. He has the potential to be like the next Michael Earhart type LSM in our game. So a lot of respect for them. They're extremely well coached. And, anytime, you're playing against a Tom Schreiber, Will Manny, Marcus Holman type teams, it's tough, right? It's a daunting task, but we're going to be up for it.
You bring up all those guys, and he obviously hasn't played most of this season due to injury, but how do you game plan for a Grant Ament style of player?
Discipline. Holy smokes, you got to be extremely disciplined in everything you do, on your approach, staying on his hands, not trying to overthink where he's going to go. He's too quick. He's too shifty. He's an extremely smart player. So, with him, we've got to be very disciplined. We got to corral him a little bit. We can't let him run free all the time with his hands free, because that's going to be a long day for us if that's the case. But we like the guy that's going to go out and cover him. We feel like he's pretty good. I think he's the best in the league, and it'll be a great challenge for him and our defense.
And does it help any the guy that Grant was on Instagram Live with yesterday is on your side and is the guy that Grant models his game after in one RP3?
Yeah, excited for Rob. He's playing with excitement, a lot of confidence. He's having fun, right? It was mid-season that one of our players said to me, Coach, are you having fun? And I was like, you know what? I don't know. A lot of time on social media when you're 1-4, people don't like you. The same people you thought that loved you a couple of years ago. So it loses its fun a little bit. And it was a great gut check for me in that moment. And for me to see Rob have fun and, develop into one of our leaders and have an MVP type of season. Like I think he's, one of the best players in the league.
DJ and I have joked since, North Carolina weekend that DJ asked a question to Rob in the press conference, and I don't want to misquote him, so I'll let him bring it back up. But we joke that question saved the Redwood season because it seemed like Rob took accountability as a leader in the locker room from hearing what DJ asked him and ran with it. And it seemed like from that moment on, where you guys were kind of at your lowest, a switch flipped, and you guys, it started to feel like your style of lacrosse again.
Yeah, it was. I asked him because at that point the defense had kind of gotten their things together. Arden had stepped into his role, and they were playing at that high level again. But the offense was back to falling at the end of the game. Fourth quarters, they kind of weren't coming through, and it seemed like there was just a lot of initiation from the midfield. So I asked him, I was like, the midfield was initiating today, but they kind of weren't getting it done. What can the attack do, or like where, what is happening in the locker room for the attack to be able to have a more prominent role in the offense? And he took it and just ran with it and was like, you're 100% right. He's like, we've just been sitting back and kind of watching and filling in where we help and not putting ourselves forward. And ever since then, it's like Rob has been the best player on the planet.
Right. Well, I guess I should say thanks, right? But one of the things that, when you hit rock bottom, you hit that adversity, you got nowhere to go but up. And Rob's a terrific leader. But, I think we came into the season with Jules and Miles and Perkovic and the Bertrand. And it's like, how the heck do you defend these guys? But we forgot that we've got Ryder and Rob and Cav, and people are commenting that Cav's not having a great shooting year, but they have no idea what he brings. He rides, he's tenacious, he's a heck of a teammate, and I think he's going to go off in one of these playoff games. Like he's a Kavanaugh. That's what they do. And, so we did get more balance after that. We really stepped back. We changed. I mean, if you remember last year in Hofstra, we went to a 2-2-2 offense, which created more space for the middies. Well, this year we went from that 2-2-2 back to a 3-1-2, and I don't know, the switch back. Guys are cutting, moving off ball a little bit. There's a lot of things going on, and again, teams in this league don't like to slide. And when you have Rob Pinnell and you have those middies that we have, and Ryder Garnsey as creative as he is, and Cav's starting to chip in with a goal or two a game now, we become a pretty efficient offense again. And I think at the beginning of the year, coming out of that game, we were dead last in every offensive statistic. And now you fast forward at going into the playoffs, and now we've already elevated to the third most efficient offense in the league. So, and I didn't think about it today until KB brought it up. You take away that game, and we're at a 0 score differential. So sometimes it takes a game like that to be humbled, and then to realize kind of who we are and our identity. And Rob's done a great job helping us get our identity back. So we certainly are back on offense. TD's facing off again. He's healthy. And I think that's something that people don't realize is just how banged up we are and have been all year long. We don't really allow it to be an excuse. It should be a next person up mentality. But I mean, I think the first play of the game against the Chrome or Atlas, of the season, Rob Pinnell pulled a hamstring, and he played the first few games with a pulled hamstring, and nobody want to talk about it. And he's still having kind of attackman of the year type numbers.
This year, in addition to Rob and the typical leaders, I've personally noticed, and I'm sure DJ's noticed this too, Ryder has really taken on a leadership role on this team. He's been very vocal in the huddle. He seems to have a new, aura around him when he's out on the field. He's stepping up and being a leader on this team. For you, being around Ryder since year one, since you brought him in as an undrafted free agent, what's it been like to kind of see that evolution of, young, fresh out of college Ryder to now this kind of poised and leadership role that he's adapted in 2022?
It's been awesome, right? Ryder and I, we'll have some stern conversations with one another. Like, he's one of my favorite people I've ever gotten to coach. He's one of my favorite human beings, period. I think I've said that all the way back to 2019. It's a little bit corny, but it's true. I'm super proud of him. Like he's going to be a tremendous, he already is, but he's going to be a tremendous coach under Coach Corrigan's tutelage and that program. Ryder's going to be involved with lacrosse for a very, very long time. The one thing that I always make sure that we get, and I BU is what I tell them. BU, every pregame hug, something along those lines, because we don't want to get away from that young college guy that's creative and plays with his hair on fire. He's our spark plug. He's an emotional leader, and he is very smart too. Very smart player. So when he does speak up, it's very timely, and it's much like his game, right? You go to the Cannons game, and he was quiet all game, and all of a sudden, the fourth quarter, he goes, "Okay, Rob, and these guys have done a great job to this point. I'm going to go do some things that people aren't quite, don't forget about me." And, he made some heck of plays. And the thing about him is he's so selfless. He really is. I don't know if people truly understand how big of a teammate he really is. He celebrates goals with guys. He gets pumped for everybody. And, as long as he keeps being Ryder and doing some of the stuff that he does that you're wondering, like, what the hell are you doing, Ryder? Yes, let's go. As long as he keeps being Rides, we're going to be in a good spot.
The one thing that, you bring up how banged up you guys have been, and it's been since training camp. We talked about it, when I saw you in Albany and everything with guys who were out injured, and going into this season and kind of preparing mentally to be like, okay, we're going to have this guy, and then you don't have, John Sexton healthy. You don't have a Ryan Lee because he gets injured in the NLL playoffs. DeMayo's injured coming in from his time with Maryland. Bartolo wasn't 100% coming in as a draft pick. How do you guys kind of, shuffle that deck and really re-prepare for the roster that you have and the additions that you have to bring in to kind of replace those guys while you wait for them to get healthy, or knowing that you're not going to have them at all this year?
Yeah, it was tough, right? We came in really excited. Guys were feeling very healthy. And then, kind of you're watching the indoor league and you're watching what Ryan Lee's doing and how terrific of a player he was. And we barely scratched the surface with Ryan last year because he got injured early on. And then we kind of figured things out, and it was tough to get back in the lineup. So we were super excited for him. We'll be very excited for him next year to have him back. He brings an element that the Woods, haven't had in a while. But, for me, it's been a slow build going all the way back to 2019. Some pretty key trades along the way, some key movements, some guys stepping up, some, Ryder was undrafted. We were able to pull him in. So it's taken us a while to get to this point, and we felt like we were there this year. Like we've gotten all the pieces together, and then boom. And now here we are going into the playoffs where, it's daunting, but we've never won a game without Eddie Glazner. We've won games without some of our superstars that have been out, but we've never won without, Eddie. So we got a huge, task ahead of us with the Archers, and losing him, it hurts. But, it's been difficult to get through, and I'm proud of my guys because we grind, we battle every game, and we truly believe that we can beat anybody despite that, adversity.
Now, I know this is going to be a difficult question to answer, if it's answerable at all. I remember in the post-game press conference on Long Island, I believe it was Kevin Brown from Inside Lacrosse brought up some sort of, timetable clock for Matt Landis. Mm-hmm. Is that still something that, obviously probably not this season, but, 2023, is Matt Landis still a potential player for this Redwoods team in the future?
Absolutely. Yep. We're working through that right now. Matt's doing an honorable thing, and obviously with the best of the best, serving our great nation. And when he becomes available, we know he's going to be in great shape, And he's a great teammate, and he's got great relationships with all the guys on the team right now. So we'll see how it goes, but absolutely he could be a viable option, as we move forward in his career in the Navy SEALs moves forward.
Were you surprised this year from a standpoint where, you've been on our show in years past where we're talking and you're teasing moves, and then 30 seconds after you hang up, boom, Wes Berg is a member of the Redwoods.
Right.
Were you surprised by the fact that across the league there was barely any trades this year with an expanded trade window?
Yeah, no, not really. It's hard. It's hard with now. Before we could do it and not have to worry about, guys' salaries and things of that nature. Now, you have already a shortened list of guys. So you got to get somebody who's going to play every weekend if you're going to make a trade. And then you got to make sure now their salary fits. And, there's just a lot of things that take some of the fun out of that, but it's part of pro athletics. And, unfortunately, we thought about some things, but I told our guys I was not blowing this up, and I wanted to be committed to this group. I love them. I'm loyal. And we just didn't feel the need to make any real big moves. We felt like we have everything in place, and now we're hoping to see the proof of that making out a playoff run here this weekend.
How much of that, salary matching and everything, obviously free agency, comes into play this offseason? Is that simply, something that's on your shoulders, or is that a collective, you, Chris Collins, Todd McFarland type thing where you're all kind of collaborating on what, guys are going to be able to, maneuver into your salary cap that you're going to have?
The final decision obviously would be with me, as the GM and the head coach. But I'll bounce ideas off those two. Listen to them with their thoughts, and do a thorough evaluation. Hopefully after championship weekend, to see what we're going to do. But I think it's going to be absolutely wild. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't want too many changes with the Redwoods, but depending on how things play out and contracts and things of that nature. We're not scared to make a bold move. I think we've proven that over the years, but I like this team. I'm not really in dire need, especially when, you got a Ryan Lee coming back and, some guys like that. Eddie will be healthy again next year, and, things like that. So, we're certainly going to dabble. We're going to certainly explore all options. And I think it's going to be, a really crazy off season, but great for lacrosse and great for pro lacrosse, especially when you throw in the teams that are playing in sixes, and then you take a breath from that. And now you've got free agency hitting, and then we're going to go right into college season. And then it's like, okay, here we go. We're right back at it. And, hopefully the Redwoods, keep our core intact and who we are and what we're all about. But, we're always looking to move forward.
Deej, I'm sure you got some things churning in the brain.
Yeah, mostly about this Archers defense. They're one of the most team-like defenses outside of the Whipsnakes in the league. They do a lot of movement, especially with their short sticks, moving it down on attackmen so they can double pull the face off. What is kind of your game plan and just overall thoughts moving in, going against this Archers defense?
They're good. They're extremely well coached, right? But they haven't shown us anything we haven't seen before. The Chaos have been double pulling us. They put in a short stick on Ryder Garnsey, and he scored the game-winning goal twice in two different games, one in the bubble, one in Albany. And then this year he had 5 goals with a short stick. I think it was 5 goals in the game in Dallas. I might be wrong. But, so we've seen it all, but they bring a great energy. The thing about the Archers team is the energy level is really high. And we've had a history of not coming out and starting strong. So it's going to be imperative that we try to get off to a great start. And we'll be ready to counter a double pull. We're ready for that. And, we like the matchup. It should be a fun lacrosse game. It's the knockdown, drag out, playoff game. And they have a lot at stake too, right? Like, we haven't won a championship. We've lost a lot of close games. There's those knocks on us. But, I don't know if they've been to a semifinal, or maybe they have in the bubble, because I think only the top 4 went, maybe, or I forget how it went. But, there's a lot of pressure on them as well. And it's the playoffs and it's pro sports, and it's exactly what you want.
Yeah,
I think that was the only time they went to the semifinal was the bubble, tournament style.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, their slide package is very different than most teams in the league. They're not switch or slide heavy. They're not going to do it quickly, but they do it always at the perfect time. Kind of what do you say to your offense heading into a game like that?
Well, we have a lot of trust in our offense, and we have a game plan in place. I don't know when this is going to air, so I'm not going to give that out. But
Friday morning probably.
Okay, yeah. So we've played them, we've prepared for them, we've watched them play, and they're very good. But if we share the ball and we change the field and win some one-on-one matchups and make that extra pass, and our guys are hitting their shots, we're pretty scary and potent offense and tough to match up with. So again, that's got to be exciting, right? For the fan, stressful as hell for the coaches, but really excited for the game of lacrosse and the guys out there. But we'll be prepared. We'll be ready. The guys are excited. It's a heck of an opportunity. So you're right though. They do some things a little differently. And, we have clips of that. They're who they are, and we are who we are. And, those two teams are going to lace them up and get after it.
Every other team in the league has gotten a chance to kind of let their guys go back to their college towns and play. Would you like to see the PLL play in South Bend or in that area, hopefully at Notre Dame for those guys? And just what do you think that would do for the Woods if they got to play there?
Ah, man. I mean, there's nothing like Woods Nation. It would be electric. I mean, I think I'd like to get us back to Columbus. Right? When we played these guys in Columbus that year, that crowd was rocking. That's where the Let's Go Woods chant started. So that was a really cool experience for me personally, because my family and our friends and my college guys were there, and it was a cool environment. But it would be pretty cool. But when we go to New York, I feel like it's almost like a home game for the Redwoods with all our New York guys. So you get a little bit of a sense there. So I think if we could ever get out to, maybe like Lucas Oil Stadium or, something close to South Bend, I think Arlada would be great in the summertime. In the summertime, it would be awesome. But very similar probably to a Denver University venue. I think it would be pretty cool to get them out there, and that'd be pretty awesome if we could.
What did you think of the throwback uniforms this year, bringing those out, and then your thoughts on the 2022 limited edition Redwoods jersey? DJ and I have a theory that those jerseys, if we had to place a bet on it, those are the jerseys that'll be worn in the championship series. We have no knowledge of that. That's just our educated guess. But what were your thoughts on the throwbacks and the limited edition jersey?
So the limited edition jersey, I liked it. It was okay, but for me, the throwback was sick. Like guys are cutting their t-shirts short like they did back in the day. I was joking, can I get a pair of those old bike coaching shorts on the sidelines that they used to wear, like with the little clasp on them? And the three of us would be coaching in those. But I thought the jerseys were awesome. I thought everything about that was great. I'm glad we did it. The guys loved it, which was pretty cool. They really enjoyed it. And to me, that Denver, that was probably one of the better moments in PLL Redwoods lacrosse history. Just that game was packed. It was Friday night lights, the only show in town, and it was a heck of a lacrosse game. So that was a pretty cool moment. Then you throw in those throwbacks that, I don't think I would have been allowed in my house if I didn't walk in with one. So, we were able to go get one at the store, the fan zone. We were able to go snag one real quick and bring some of those home for the kids, but because we knew that they were going to sell out quick. But yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Now, I know you and Coach Quirk got a little heated during that game.
Sure.
Are things smoothed out with he and you, or is that just kind of
that stuff never leaves me? I'm a fiery guy, like I'm going to stand up for my guys. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in, and Coach did his thing, and yeah, there was no ill will there. And at the end of the day, if I'm not fired up and excited to, then what am I doing? It's not fair to the guys, and I kind of need to go out into the pasture.
We were talking before we started recording too about Fate of a Sport. I wanted to bring that up. Have you gotten a chance to tap in, and your thoughts on just, we were reminiscing, through 2019 to now of just, things that have gone on throughout the league, and what are your thoughts on the doc if you've seen it?
So I'll be honest with you. I haven't watched it in its entirety yet. I've only watched the trailer, and the reason being is my daughter's had some volleyball matches. My son had some football games. So Thursday night, there's nothing going on. And, I think the family will watch it in one room, and I'll watch it by myself in the other room, just in case anything tugs at the strings, or, dad's on TV saying a cuss word again. Like, I just don't want to listen to them. I don't want to get chirped by my own family. But everybody I've talked to, people I haven't talked to in years, are texting me and calling me and saying how incredible it is. So I've actually scrolled through people's reviews on social media. If they're putting clips up, I try not to watch them, just because I want to watch the entire thing, no interruption, Thursday night, which I'm assuming, will get me ready to rock for Friday's practice.
Oh yeah, I was watching before we jumped on here for the very first time, and I was ready to run through a wall multiple times, and it has me juiced.
Oh yeah,
I can't wait.
I told KB when I was watching, I was like, there are so many all-time liners in this. It is unreal. Like, there's just so many one-liners that you could drop with no context in so many situations.
I can't wait.
It
You
was
guys
just
are getting me
amazing.
excited. I might have to move things around tonight. Maybe when I'm done with our team Zoom tonight with the Redwoods, I'll watch it.
I was this is like spoiler no context. I was kind of pleasantly surprised to see a lot of Garrett Epple in the doc.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. I love Ep. There's some times where I know he went through some tough times with social media and people not responding, the way he does some things. But you get to know Garrett Epple, and you're going to find an awesome human being. And my son's wearing number 52 and playing middle linebacker in football. And he's a left-handed guy, and he's like, Dad, look, if I put my jersey on and I play pole, I'm a left-handed pole like Epple. And to me, that's the stuff that people don't understand, and again jump to conclusions and want to paint this. There's always got to be a villain out there, and I think that Garrett does a great job, but he's a great human being. He really is, and I don't mind my son looking up to him in a lot of aspects, and I've got a great relationship with him, and I want him on my team every time I go out.
The obvious big time draft pick this year, Arden Cohen, number 3 overall. What would you take away from his rookie season and the regular season this year, and how he kind of fit into this Redwoods defense, and the growing pains that he had early on, and then I contributed to him switching his number to number 40, where things kind of took a positive turn for Arden. But what were your thoughts on his rookie season?
I think early on we were, again, in that first 4 games, we were moving guys around. We were asking him to play up close, because, the whole reason for drafting him is we didn't know how great Finn was going to do with his offseason surgery and rehab and how that was going to work out. And then Finn came back in great spot. Arden comes in fresh out of college season, a little more rest than he would have normally had at Notre Dame because they got hosed. They should have been in the NCAA tournament. But they weren't, so he had a little bit more time to come in and focus. But once we settled in, I thought it was interesting that people didn't talk about it much, but like nobody that he was matched up with scored more than, even when we got beat up by the Chrome, Nick Turn scored 1 goal early in transition, and he didn't score the rest of the game. And I don't know if people talked about it enough, because I think it was overshadowed by our 1-4 start. But in that time, Arden Cohen was doing a great job. And he was, maybe 1 goal a game what guys were getting. And that's how we were able to make the very tough decision to start him over Finn, because we drafted him and he responded. He did great. And Finn Sullivan did an incredible job. I mean, those were his words. He goes, Coach, I get it. You drafted him and he's playing really well. I'm ready to go. And Finn wasn't lying. 3 cost turnovers last game, 2 ground balls. And we're going to call on him again to play really well again this week. And, so we're really fortunate and, excited that we have that continuity there.
And to be able to have that depth there, with unfortunately Eddie going down, now Finn gets to, step back in and step up, which I think he's done a very admirable job in Eddie's absence.
Yeah, and I agree. He's done a great job there, and you can't replace Eddie. You just can't. Eddie's a world teamer, in my opinion. But I think Finn has stepped in and he's done a terrific job.
Speaking of guys stepping up, what was it like that conversation between Timmy and Jack and all of you guys and making that switch earlier on in the season? A lot of people, including myself, kind of called for it earlier last year. Timmy ended up playing much better at the end of last year. But then, those struggles kind of transitioned into this year. Just what were those conversations like? And then what has it been like having Jack in net? He's been phenomenal, in my opinion.
Yeah, those are always tough conversations, right? Because you care. I think I care about my guys quite a bit, right? Like all of us coaches do in this league. And you draft a guy, and he comes in and he carries you all the way to the championship game, and he's like the rookie of the year, and then he's the all-star. And then we stayed loyal to Jack, trying to come back and knee surgery. What a special moment that was. And his journey has been extraordinary. And both of those guys are still in the final cuts with Team USA. So we're like, wow, we have 2 Team USA goalies on our, potential Team USA goalies on our roster. And then they're saving the ball at 35%. And so we had to get something going. Timmy was phenomenal. He came to me, and when I told him this is what the plan was doing, he goes, "No, coach, I understand. We got to do something." And I was like, "Okay." Like, he's Jack's biggest fan. Those two support each other a ton. You can watch Timmy on the sidelines. I think in Denver, somebody tweeted out after Ryder's goal, Timmy's celebrating with the "oh my goodness" look on his face, like, holy, how did that just happen? Because that's who Timmy is, and he's ready. If something happens to Jack, we got all the confidence in the world now with putting Timmy back in. And sometimes in that goalie position, it's weird, right? We pulled him in 2019 up in Canada, and then put him back in that game, and he was 5 times better than he was before we pulled him. So these goalies have short memories. They're pros. They support one another. They know to even be on a roster in this league is important, so they got to be ready. And we're fortunate to have both of those guys. And I do agree, Jack does allow us to get up and out a little bit faster. His outlets are terrific, and we're pretty blessed to have a locker room like we do, where either one of those guys in goal, guys are going to play their backsides off for them.
One thing I wanted to bring up, it's kind of a off the field type situation, but Stags brought it up on a podcast he went on, or an interview he did, talking about he would like to see rosters expand maybe by 2 for the PLL. Your thoughts on that? Do you think it's a possibility where you could see these rosters expand a little bit? And if so, are you pro, or are you kind of cool with the 19 on the game day?
I like 21. I unequivocally support Stags in that. I think it's a double-edged sword. You put 21 guys in there. We're playing 12-minute quarters. They go so fast. Guys might not get the burn that they want all the time, but if we're going to continue to just have 8 teams in this league with the amount of talent that you're trying to grow, I mean, if we had 21 guys right now, we'd be looking at Anthony DeMeo and a Joe Robertson, and rotating those guys in and getting them some extra playing time. One of our short stick D-middies, and somebody like that, an extra guy. Especially when you're like going out west 3-4 weekends in a row, that wears on teams. So I think 21 is great. I would settle for 20, but I don't know what's in the mix, to be completely honest with you. I think from the standpoint of the fans, it's going pretty well. And Lacrosse is, Mike and Paul have done a great job elevating this league, and the players compete so hard every single week. I think there's some things that aren't broken. Don't mess with it. But I know as a coach, even just for practice purposes, each weekend, it would be awesome to have 21 guys there.
It got brought up on Twitter. Would you rather, as a fan, it was brought up, would you rather have the league expand to 2 more teams or expand game day rosters to 22? So you as a coach, what would you rather have? What do you think is better for the growth of the sport? Expanding for more teams to allow, more players and keeping 19, or to push, keep 8 and push to 22?
I would push to 21, 21, 22, give me 2 extra guys. I think that's 16 more players in this league. I think it could make things a little bit more exciting with some trades, and just more importantly at practice, you could go a little harder, a little bit longer for practice. In the MLL, you had practice guys that lived in those towns, so you could do closer to full field practices. So, but we're fortunate with what we have, and we all make do with it. But I think maybe going to 2 guys extra on a roster before expanding to 2 more teams. I think 2 more teams is a little too much, too fast. But I think 2 more players would go a long way.
And I brought up too with the thought of team expansion. I feel like it's not going to happen for a while, because the championship series is now in play in February. Obviously, Redwoods won't be playing in that, but do you feel like it's somewhat of an advantage where you're kind of going to be able to look from an outside perspective and see how things flow and get a better idea of how to actually go into it with some game film and some preparation for a championship series, with the inaugural one coming this February?
Yeah, I'll be very honest with you. I'm excited to see how this playoff run works out, but I don't hate the fact that our guys are not playing in it, because it avoids risk of injury and some other things. But it's exciting. Like, I definitely want to be a part of it. That being said, I would love to coach sixes. It's Jack Kelly and I have talked about it at length over the years when they were getting ready to head out and compete in sixes. Actually talking to Jack Kelly, our college team plays sixes at practice at times, just to get up and down and play fast and do creative things. So I'm intrigued to see how it works out. I think it's going to be fun to watch the level of play. I enjoyed watching it in Birmingham when it was on TV. So I'm really excited to see the version of it. But there's definitely a side of me that's like the year that we've had. I mean, it's been a long summer. Guys are beat up. Guys are sore. I think it'll be good for our team in particular this year to take a big, breath and relax and heal up and ready to go going into the next year. But we're all Archer state of mind right now. So that's, we're not thinking too much about the sixes. This is the most I've talked or even thought about it.
And with the Archers, quarterfinals at Gillette, normally that's where the season gets started, but All-Star game was there this year, and now playoffs at an NFL stadium. What's kind of the energy and the juice, knowing that you're going to be playing at Foxborough, which is a venue that's, very synonymous with the PLL over the past 4 years, and kind of just the stakes that are, there for you guys, knowing that you win, you advance, you go to Washington, D.C., another venue that has some historic Redwoods victory in the back of your pockets. What's the thoughts going to Gillette?
Going into Gillette first, it's a first class. It's pretty cool. The experience that you get as a coach and a player, they do it right. They do it really well. They've hosted Lacrosse so many times. They've hosted us, college. So they do it great. As a Buffalo Bills fan, I'm not overly excited going in there, but I do like going in there and coming out with a win. It's extra special as a Bills fan. So I'm hoping to be able to enjoy that, but we're going to have our hands full. It's going to be playoff atmosphere, long weekend. So hopefully it's going to be a nice crowd, good weather, and you're playing in a stadium. When you look up, you see the Lombardi trophy hanging in the rafters, a bunch of them. It's a pretty cool experience that, when are you going to get this again? Hopefully next year. Hopefully we're still coaching and playing there next year. But it's something that, I don't take for granted. I'll certainly soak it all in.
Did you like the switch to Albany this year for opening weekend and training camp, knowing that it's also going to be there again in 2023? What was that switch up kind of like for you guys?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed Albany. Everything was kind of right there. They did a really nice job. I'm excited to go back to Albany for training camp. So I like it. I enjoy it. The food was pretty good. And, I'm an upstate New York guy. So, I get more time back home in the Empire State. We're going to take that thing and run any chance we get.
That's what everybody talks about, that food at Albany.
Yeah.
Everyone we talk to, they're like, man, the food was fantastic.
Yeah, it was really good. And everything was in walking distance. And the thing I loved about it was, we're all on the same floor and we're all in the same building. And you just get that time together where so important when you don't see each other until the weekends. Like having that time together was huge.
Deej, you got anything else for the boss man?
Well, we got to figure out this bet sometime soon.
Yeah. Well, you're going to look good in an orange and black lacrosse jersey, my man. I'll get you something extra special. Go Polar Bears.
Ooh, go Dogs. Go Dogs, baby. Go Dogs.
For the record, I'll take anything Polar Bears. I'll rock that.
Man.
You're my guy. You're my guy. So
I got you, my man. I got something for you. We'll get it out soon.
You hear this, dude? He ain't actually for nothing.
Pandering works, baby. Pandering works.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Speaking of bets, we've been doing this on all of our podcasts on the network, Coach, and I said, any guests we have on, I want to have them kind of in the mix for this. So Outside the Box is now on YouTube, and we're trying to grow our channel to get to that illustrious 1,000 subscriber mark, which allows us to monetize the channel.
Nice.
So we're throwing out from all of our shows, it's our Road to 1K Gauntlet Challenge. So every single podcast is thinking up of something that once we hit that 1K mark, we're going to do that task, do that, thing.
Okay.
So a little input from our guy, head coach of the Redwoods. If you had to, throw something into the mix for us, what would that be?
Oh, man. So you guys, when you hit the 1,000, coming up here pretty quick, that first show, what we're going to do on it, right?
It could be show. It could be, it could be anything that we post on there. It'll be something. It could be pretty much anything you can think of.
I'm a pretty boring guy. I don't have, my wife's the one that thinks all the cool ideas. I just take the credit for it with the kids. But, you know, something that would be pretty cool. Man, I don't know. I mean, you got to go big, right? Like you got to go.
That's what I'm saying.
You got to go big. You got to do something like, in this, gosh, trying to think what you guys could do. I'm going to be that guy and be like, I got to think on this because
well, it's perfect. You can text me,
we'll text some ideas because there's some pretty wild things like, you know, I don't know, something crazy, like launch it from, I don't know, like the Empire State Building, like do something random, like do the first show or something at the subway or, you know, I don't know, just something a little wild, like what the hell is going on? Like, what is this, you know? And then, you know, you're celebrating it and people aren't going to know, but people are always looking for a reason to celebrate. So
exactly,
like on New Year's Eve or go to New York on New Year's Eve or something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, you brainstorm with the missus.
Oh yeah. Oh,
you let me know.
Yes.
We'll let the people know because we're going to have guests on throughout the postseason. Okay. And we're going to pull ideas from everybody and then potentially, you know, combine them all together. And that'll be our, you know, sliver of the gauntlet challenge.
Yeah. Get Harrison on there and ask him some questions and make him give you an actual honest answer. You'll have a lot of fun with that, Cap.
You got to link us up with him.
That's a done deal. Yeah.
Perfect. He's on our white whale list.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll make that happen.
That's perfect.
Kyle, if you're listening, jump on the show. Come on, man.
There we go. That's what we needed.
All right. He'll be here.
Endorsements.
Coach, it's always a pleasure having you on. You're one of our OG PLL guests from 2019, and you've been coming on since, so we appreciate all your support. We'll be up at Foxborough, and obviously it's roll woods from our end, and best of luck against the Archers, and then hopefully you guys are playing in D.C., and we're watching you, take on either Chrome or Chaos.
Yeah, one game at a time. We just want one more week together. That's all we want. That's what we focus on. So I appreciate you guys. Absolutely roll woods all day.
Big thanks to Nat for hopping on the pod. Some juicy, spicy quotes in there. Obviously, we talked about at the top of the show, the call out to K18, who will be coming on the pod at some point. We're working on getting that all situated. But you heard it here first. Full-blown confirmation. Definitive, flat out yes. Matt Landis is still on the table for this team. It's been rumored. It's been talked about. You heard it here first. Please credit the Outside the Box podcast. Matt Landis, when he comes back to the Redwoods, Nat confirmed it on our show.
And I said it way back, whenever. I can't even remember when. But I definitely was the first to say it. So y'all heard it here first. I'm excited for that when he does come back. Keep doing your thing and serving our country. Thank you for that. And we'll be excited for you to come back and serve the Woods and get us a championship. And I'll personally thank you in person for that as well.
I want to shake your hand.
I do want to shake your hand. But also, comment down below some bet ideas. Help me out here. Me and Coach Nat are trying to figure out his end of the bet. As a coach, I won't make him wear my school's colors or anything like that. I understand what could happen going on with that.
And for the people at home who don't know, because this all came to fruition in person at Fairfield, DJ's alma mater plays
college,
the school that Nat is the head coach at, Ohio Northern this year. There's a nice little coaching gentleman's agreement on this game.
Yep.
So
if I lose, I gotta wear a polar bear jersey. I don't mind the colorway, but I really don't want to wear it.
Maybe that logo's fine.
Maybe they got a gray one, like a base gray with some black, orange, and white accents.
And y'all heard me.
I rock that.
I'll wear any polar bear stuff.
You did say
one,
that.
Polar bears are cool as hell. That's
is.
a kick-ass mascot.
It is.
Second, I gotta support our guy.
Hey, if I lose, I will gladly wear the polar bear jersey. I'm hoping it's base gray with those accents, but I'll take any one. No, not picky here. But yeah, help me figure out something to get Coach Nat when he loses. And not if, but when. I said if for me, it's a win. For
And
him.
he and the missus are coming up with part of our Gauntlet Challenge, which is our road to 1K subscribers on YouTube challenge that we're throwing down from every branch of the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. Once we hit 1K, every podcast will have something up their sleeve that they'll be pulling out for the people. And we're working on coming up with our end. In the next 3 weeks, we're going to have guests on one way or another. We're going to ask them for insight. I'm even going to ask Coach Russo on the show in the coming weeks to help us out with something from the Coach Russo show.
Okay.
So we got some fun stuff planned with that, but you got to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And without any further ado, you'll hear it in post. Let's feed some ducks, Deej. Also, looking, if there's a graphic artist out there who would like to work with us to commission us a duck playing lacrosse as our Picks mascot.
But it cannot look anything like the old school or new school Oregon duck.
Correct. We want it to be fresh. We want it to be synonymous with us. So if you're a graphic artist,
Didn't Miami have a duck at one point?
it's like a stork, I think.
Okay, yeah, it can't look like that either.
Yeah, it's got to be our own flair, our own flavor. But if there are any graphic artists listening, hit us up in the DMs on social. We'd love to work with you and figure something out because it'd be pretty cool to have a little mascot for the show. Anyway, we got Chrome, we got Chaos in the first matchup of the 2022 postseason. The 2.8% voting for Chaos to win the championship, much lower than last year where it was 3.2%.
That's not that much slower.
Hey, that's a whole 0.4%. That's like
Not even a half a point.
that's like 2 whole humans.
Sure.
Deej, you're rocking the Chrome hat right now. I hope Jack and Jared don't watch this episode. But if they do, oh boy, you might have 2 cans knocked out of your hands this weekend. How do you see this one playing out?
Oh, you'll make me go first too?
Oh, of course.
Sheesh. Dude.
Also, our picks of the week brought to you by our homies over at Pickup. You guys can go to playpickup.com, start playing those headlines for the NFL season, baseball playoffs, PLL playoffs, everything you need. Go to playpickup.com, rack up points on your fan profiles, cash them in for prizes on the Pickup Marketplace. That's playpickup.com.
Listen. I'm 1 game back in our picks. So the pick I'm about to make is solely in terms of trying to even things up and grab a win heading out of the playoffs. So my official pick is the Chrome Lacrosse Club. But in my heart and truly, I'm picking Chaos. But I gotta use my head in terms of our picks and trending this season. The mystery box of Chaos has not been good to me. So that is my reason for the pick. But Jack, Jared, AT, Ian, the rest of my Chaos boys, you know where I really lie with this. 3.2, 13. That's where we really are.
I'm right there with you. I'm picking Chrome because
Say it with your chest. Don't whisper.
I'm picking Chrome because they were my league pass team at the start of the year. And like you said, the mystery box that is Chaos this year has not played in our favor. But y'all know where I ride with on the surface and deep down. Y'all know Chaos are the guys. But I'm picking Chrome.
You are so soft. You are so soft. You got to say that with your chest. Just say it outright, loud, and just be a man about it.
That's called playing it up for the camera.
Nah, we don't play up nothing. You just got to be straightforward and be like, look, I'm wrong. I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm doing it. And I'll face the consequences. So deep down, I'm rocking with them. But on the scoreboard, I'm going with Chrome.
Archers play Redwoods
They do.
in the second game. I'm going basically off of something we on this show refer to with the test tube emoji, known as podcast science. Redwoods win.
Oh, this is just all bias aside. All love, nothing.
Shout out to the Archers. Love y'all. Love Coach Bates. Love Tom Schreiber. Love Grant, Will, Marcus, Ryan Ambler,
Love 'em
Treasy, Connor Fields, all of them. But there's something. There's more of a chip on this Redwood shoulder than there has been in years past.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's that part, but I mean, then for me, I got my new skill that I'm adding to my resume, season saver, on one side. Miles is arguably my favorite player ever. Me and Nat are friends, like
Colleagues, if you will, in the coaching community.
Like, I mean, there's so many ties here to this Redwoods team. There's nothing that I wouldn't like more to see the Archers make it, to a semifinal, make it to a championship game. Like, they deserve to be there. I want to see them there eventually. Just sucks that they got to go through the woods to try and do it, and I just don't have the faith. I totally believe in all bias that the Redwoods are the best team in the PLL and will win the championship this year.
I'm basing mine simply off of the TD versus Ignacio matchup too. I like that in our favor.
I will say it kind of played in our favor last time in terms of keeping that game close, and like I think we should have won that game. It was 9-10. TD won, I think it was 62% of his face-offs or something like that. Like, that's great. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He does that again. No way do the Woods lose this time.
Right.
But yeah, that's definitely.
I think that's a huge factor right there, and another factor of this game is Finn Sullivan continuing to step up in the absence of Eddie Gleisner, which I think will happen. He played really, really well down the stretch for this team, and RP3's playing at MVP level, so I like the Redwoods' chances to win here. They have that experience as well, playing in the quarterfinals as much as they have. So I'm going to give my tip of the cap to the Redwoods.
Wild statement here. I know Nat is going to watch this. Do I get a ring if you guys win?
Do we get a ring?
You didn't ask. No.
Hey now.
You can get one if you want, but I mean, I feel like I asked the question.
I've been rolling with this team.
I asked the question Nat's been trying to ask for 2 years. And so, just let me know. Let me know.
Just give me Matt Landis' ring. He'll get one next year.
Mitch Bartolo played enough games to get
facts.
a ring, right? Like, can I just have
I've been covering this team for 4 years. Mitch Bartolo wore number 4. I'll take that. Water Dogs Atlas is the final matchup of the weekend of the quarterfinals. Toughest game, in my opinion, to pick. But one of these teams has that dog in them. And it's literally in their team name. They're getting Ryan Brown back. I like he's questionable, which is the first time he's actually been questionable in like 2 weeks.
So are they?
I think they are. Especially since it's the playoffs. And Andy Copeland said in Dallas he was close.
He did.
And I think they've just been solid enough where they could wait for him to just get fully healthy. I'm picking the Water Dogs to win. I think they have just enough depth across the board to go toe-to-toe with this Atlas team. I love the Water Dogs defense. I love Dylan Ward. And I don't know, something about this Water Dogs team all year has just like drawn me into them more than years past. And I just like the way they're playing right now. And I think they have what it takes to pull out a win here and go get a date with the Whip Snakes in Washington, D.C.
As much as I would love to see this team win, because of how I think things should go for a certain team to win it all, I don't think that is going to happen. Atlas has been in multiple games this year that they've lost in the last minute and a half, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, overtime, where they threw it away themselves. One of those games was against the Water Dogs in Denver. Atlas had a nice lead. I think it was 2 goals with a couple minutes left. They literally handed the game to the Water Dogs and then lost in overtime. Trevor was also just really returning from his hamstring injury. He was labored, wasn't really himself, wasn't running up and down the field. Teat was held considerably in check. I don't think any of those things are factors this time around. And just for the sake of dramatics, not only did I just make that long speech, but I'm disagreeing with you and going with Atlas.
Fair enough.
Solely for dramatics and record.
I'm also leaning Water Dogs the way I am because everybody knows when your team gets a documentary made about them during a season or preseason or postseason, it leads to bad things.
Oh, so the Lions.
They're donezo.
Yes. Because so are my Packers. But, hey.
Atlas having that doc around them all season long, while it's fantastic content, it's just a bad omen in all of sports. Will that trend continue? We'll see. That's just, I'm using the maths when it comes to the Hard Knocks of the world and everything like that, the all or nothings.
You probably should have wore a different color hat.
It's all great for the optics, brother. Shout out to Kenwood.
Right, Chaos? All for the optics?
So I'm going with Water Dogs. So, to recap our picks, DJ and I are both going with Chrome, but in our heart of hearts, we're going with Chaos. We're both going with the Redwoods, but we do love the Archers. There's no bad blood there. Also, Redwoods Archers feels like very similar to Redwoods Chaos in terms of like it's a respectful rivalry.
Do you think there's respect between Redwoods Chaos?
Yeah. It's not like Whips Woods where like they just full blown hate each other. Like those two teams, like they go to war.
So you mean like that? Let me find a. Oh, you mean like no. You mean like that Michigan Penn State?
Means nothing to me, but sure.
But like no, like you get the context.
I don't because I'm not a college football guy.
Well, not even just football, just in general. Like those teams don't hate each other, but they play with emotion. They play hard, and there's that mutual level of I know they're gonna come and compete.
Yes.
And I like that they will come and compete, so I will give them that same standard back.
Yes.
And maybe it's something like that.
And from the outside looking in, for a different perspective of that too, while they were heated rivalries, it was a respectful rivalry. The Brady versus Peyton Colts Patriots saga, that's how I kind of view Chaos and Redwoods. I think there's mutual respect for the players, the coaches respect the hell out of each other, and they know they're going to go to war on the field, but once everything's over and done with, it's respectful. The guys get along, everything like that. I feel similarly about Archers and Redwoods, where Bates and Nat are going to game plan for each other. It's going to be a chess match. The players are going to dog it out there. But then afterwards, shake hands. It's kumbaya. So, yeah, we're both going Redwoods. I'm going Dogs. DJ's going Atlas. And those are our PLL playoffs, Boston quarterfinals, picks of the week, powered by the homies over at Pickup. DJ, let's quickly dive into Fate of a Sport. We've both gotten the chance to watch it now. I've actually watched it twice. Watched it with CFO Margie. She loved it. I loved it. It had me ready to run through a brick wall 10 times over. It just further confirmed how much I get along with Mike Rabel from a business side of things and how we're building everything with OTB and Underground in a similar sense of how Mike and Paul are building the PLL. That's why I feel like Mike and I have such a strong connection with one another and are able to just connect on so many different levels because we operate that. When Paul said, doubt fuels Mike, I'm the same fucking way. Plug that charger into me and I'm going to get that much more powerful if you doubt me or anybody that's on my team. It was fun going back in time because as everything with the PLL and MLL was happening was right when I started getting into lacrosse and right when OTB started. So I remember all of that happening behind the scenes, but I wasn't too familiar with all of the optics. So Fate of a Sport literally lines up timeline-wise with everything we've done on this podcast from start to finish. And it was cool just kind of going down memory lane and following along from their perspective of everything we were doing on a podcast covering the league. And it was also, I felt very, the episode of SpongeBob when he says he was in the TV commercial and he points to the corner in the Krusty Krab and his hat's just poking out and says, "See you later, bran flakes." I felt that way on multiple occasions when they showed games. I was like, oh, I was there. I was there. And when they showed the press box in Philly in 2019, I was like, oh, there's me up in the press box. I'm there. I was in the dock.
I was in the dock.
When Salt Lake showed up from last show, I was like, there's Deech. There he is.
I'm right there.
There's my man.
There it is.
Baltimore 2019 showed up. I was like, oh, I was at that one. That was me. I was there. Gillette showed up. I was like, ah! That was one of the worst weekends of my life. There it is.
Literally ever. And I mean, dude.
By proxy, DJ and I were both in the dock, so.
Oh, yeah.
Just uncredited, but it's fine.
Literally almost.
We'll be in the next one.
Facts.
But
and
all
with
jokes
credits,
aside.
With credits.
All jokes aside, the doc fucking is amazing. And even if you're not a lacrosse person or have never watched a single second of lacrosse, you should watch this documentary because it's so fascinating.
Yeah, even in terms of being a business person. If you don't want to watch lacrosse, if you're not interested in sports, not interested in lacrosse at all, even if you are interested in sports, but you're a business person or you're interested in business at all, watch it for that aspect. Just taking out lacrosse entirely and looking at it for the terms of they went into this making a business, it will give you totally different insight than what you'll get from a lot of other people because it's just raw, emotion and raw reaction to things that are happening in their life at that very moment. You can't get better advice than testimonial advice.
Yep.
A documentary like this is good for people getting into the sport of lacrosse, fans getting into the sport of lacrosse, or people just starting businesses or doing anything in life. Just their perseverance through the doc just shows it's all about what you put your mind to. And that's why I love lacrosse. It reminds me so much of my life. And it's specifically the PLL literally reminds me of my life. They seemed like a fatherless baby. They had this skeleton of other leagues where they can look around and be like, okay, they did this, they did this, they did that, they did this. And they can take all these pieces to create themselves and create a league, but they didn't get the two-parent household with the picket fence where they got the league that got handed to them, or they got two different small leagues that merged together to make a very defined league that the NBA and the NFL and these other leagues had. They're literally picking up from the bottom with pieces and almost putting together a paper mache project. That's almost what it seems like. And just to see the type of things that they went through behind the scenes, hear some of the things that were said to them, and it's just one, it made me just want to go fight some of those people. Honestly, the things that Paul and Mike were doing were only to make the sport better. Were only to get them more money. MLO owners who had certain things to say.
He was only trying to make the sport better. He wasn't trying to take the MLL away. That was not his plan at all, ever.
Right.
He just wanted a new avenue for players and fans to enjoy, to broaden the sport. You could have came over and kept your team and done whatever and added money to your pocket, but people just have these ideas that things have to go a certain way. I'm just really proud of their perseverance and how they put it together and were able to grow it into what it is now and what it will be. And I mean, I can't even imagine what the PLL is going to be like in 10 years. Like, in another 10 years, you're going to need another doc just about the time between when Fate of the Sport dropped and that point, because there's going to be a whole nother line of history worth talking about.
And you, as a former player, now coach, did you ever have to go to the CVS across the street and break up a bag of ice to ice your broken ankle in 2 places?
Dog, I've lived, granted I didn't play professionally, but I've lived some wild playing days. Like, first off, starting in high school, everything I had was passed down from old teammates. My stick I got from my coach. Literally had nothing of my own but a pair of cleats and like a cup. That was it. And I was working and fundraising and stuff just to play. And then we were lucky enough to have a trainer, but my games and practices weren't even at my high school. They were at my rival high school across town that we had to combine with.
Was your locker room a tent?
We didn't have a locker room.
So you related with Ryan Flanagan there.
We didn't even have a tent. We changed on our sideline. Like, if parents showed up early enough, they see me dropping my pants from school and putting on my shorts. So serious. Like, it's wild, kind of like where you have to start. And, even getting to college, like, yeah, things got better. I was on a campus and I had a lot of readily available things. But practicing 10 to midnight and getting out of practice at midnight, first off, when you go to a small D3 college, cafe's closed. The only thing open in town was Taco Bell. I ate Taco Bell Monday through Friday.
So it's your pizza and beer.
Dog. Every day, Monday through Friday, at like 1 o'clock, I'm rolling through the Taco Bell line. At that point, they pretty much knew our names. It was me and a couple of my teammates. We went all the time after practice, and they were like, yeah, one time we rolled up, and they were like, your total's 33-12. And we were like, what? They were like, yeah, you guys going to get a couple quesadillas, this, and that. And we're like, dude, this is bad. But, like, we had no other choice because there literally was nothing else open on campus or even in the city. I went to a small school, was in a small city, very few options. And then I come back home, I get ready to coach, and I'm in a position where there wasn't a coach, wasn't a team. I got there. I had to find my jerseys. My jerseys are missing for weeks. I found them the day before my first game. I had to go buy a bucket of balls out of my own pocket for the beginning of the season and then got reimbursed. Like, I definitely understand to a point, I understand on a smaller scale what Paul and Mike are going through running the league. Like, obviously they're on a much higher scale doing all of the things that I'm doing for one team for 8 teams plus some other things because they're a legitimate business and league. But I definitely understand how hard it is to run a lacrosse program, a team, a league, because it's not easy doing it even on the smallest scale because of how spread out the resources are.
I think my favorite part was when they were getting ready for the merger and basically said, we offered to buy them 2.5 years ago for $35 million. Now we're buying them out for $1 million. And then Paul literally puts that thing on the table and says, the merger was all about getting Lyle, which just an all-time quote, just pretty much bought the MLL for you pretty much bought Lyle Thompson out for $1 million, which is insane to think about.
He only worth $1 million,
right? Y'all MLL owners got fleeced.
Man, well, I think they're on the wrong side. Like, obviously, I feel like Paul would have paid more for him, but
tried to.
I mean, yeah, and then, they only gave him away for $1 million. Like, y'all are bugging, dog.
Just the persistence with the phone calls every day with every single player, and then you remember who were on all the rosters and everything year one, and who you were waiting for. I was surprised. I think the only surprise I had from the doc that wasn't included was the just saga and buildup of RP3 coming over. I was intrigued that was kind of left out in a sense because like,
especially because they talked about Lyle. And him playing with Lyle again after playing with Cannons and like all of that, and it was like, what about him playing with Rob again after he played with him in New York?
And that was like the buildup, like the two big names year one that everybody talked about that weren't on teams was Rob Pennell and Lyle Thompson. Those were the two names. Then Rob comes over, obviously, big reveal, big announcement, and then it was, when is Lyle coming over? When's Lyle making the jump? When is this happening? Then it happens, and I don't know if in any sport, let alone lacrosse, we'll get another awaited debut more so than the Lyle Thompson debut in the PLL. That debut felt special. It felt like, here's this generational talent. Here's, obviously everybody calls Paul the LeBron of lacrosse, but like right now, like Lyle is the it guy. Whoever you want to compare him to in any other sport, like he's the it guy of lacrosse and will be for arguably the next decade. That debut and that build up to Lyle coming out in a Cannons uniform with Paul, expansion team in Boston for their debut. I don't know if we'll ever get another anticipation of a debut than we got with that.
I'll say, if all the Cavs end up on the Woods and the last one gets drafted to the Woods, that debut will be insane.
It'll be insane for sure.
And I think Connor Schellenberger's debut will be insane as well.
But I don't know. Well, I'm looking at it simply too because Lyle was already in the pros. I just don't know if like we'll have that emotional, like long-awaited feeling where like we know Schellenberger's going to come to the pros. We know, the Cavs one way or another will continue to play and everything. But that long-awaited debut for the face of a sport to finally come over to play with the best of the best in the new format of the sport that he plays, that was just like something that will stick in my mind forever. When Lyle said, "Hey, sorry I'm late."
Would LeBron coming over top that?
To what?
Like if there was like if LeBron came over and played lacrosse and said he signed a contract to play in the PLL, put on a jersey, would his awaited debut outshine Lyle's? What do you think?
No.
In terms of just the lacrosse community?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, because I think obviously on
the
a
sports
worldwide
world
scale,
will blow it out of the water, but in a lacrosse standpoint, where like Lyle is Native American, like this is his sport. This is like he's the face of his sport. I don't think we'll ever get anything close to that in terms of that awaited debut, and to relive that in the doc was just like I had chills. I was like, man, that because like when you're watching it happen, you're so in the moment with it, but then when you sit back and reflect on like how special it was for Lyle to finally come over, finally be playing on that big stage, it was just so freaking cool.
Yeah, my favorite part about the doc was watching Paul's meltdown in the locker room and going, why do I talk to myself that way? Like, seriously, like, I ask myself what type of competitor I am. I ask myself, what the fuck am I doing? I ask myself, how fucking hard is that? Like, I ask myself these things all the time, and it's like, why am I not nicer to myself? But, like, it also was, like, nice to see that raw emotion from Paul. Like, we haven't really seen it. That, and then the thing with Matt Landis.
Yeah.
Where he's like, fuck you pointing at me for? Don't do that. And I'm like,
slap them in their fucking dicks.
Such a quote. And Mike just laughs. He's like, That was so funny though, because I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how you should feel, Paul. Like, what is the point in pointing at Paul because he runs the league and he pays you? How about what if he fired you right there? Yeah, buddy, pack your stuff and never come back to a weekend. Like, come on, just have
Man,
a little
and
bit of respect for the guy.
What would have happened to Jack Rowlett then last year?
I forgot about that. I was there in person for that too. I believe.
No, it was Long Island.
That was Long Island. You're right.
I was there. That was
You were.
electric. Tossed his helmet halfway across the fucking field. The other thing that stood out to me was the very end. And Paul said, I might come back 2023. We've talked about it on this show. Paul's probably not done. He's got too much of that competitive spirit in him to not go out on top, or at least as close to the top as he can.
I just had a crazy light bulb moment.
Oh, man.
What if
Shout out to Jeffrey Wright.
expansion? Yes. Expansion.
What if?
Next year is a certain team that was in the MLL. And that's why Paul comes back.
One, I don't think we're expanding next year. Simply because I brought this up to Nat with the championship series being the format that it is, and everybody's talked about, how much added on expenses it would be for another team, and then you're making it an odd number again, where I think they're waiting to get to a point where it is comfortable to expand with 2 teams at once. So then it is that even 10. And I think, as crazy as this sounds, I think the Lizards are the last team that gets added in because all of their social media is gone.
That's fair. All their social media is gone, but
I think the next...
you can't just make new social
That is true. But I think knowing the sickos that Mike and Paul are with social media, something tells me somebody is in the background trying to recover those accounts.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And that's what they're waiting on with that. But I think the next 2 expansion teams are Denver and Chesapeake.
Yes, I was going to say Chesapeake I definitely think will be the next if you bring in that part of it. I think the Barrage have a decent chance as well to slide in.
Please just change that name.
I doubt they will.
Please just get rid of it.
What do you want them to change it to? Polar Bears?
Anything but Barrage.
Polar Bears?
Polar Bears Lacrosse Club would be fucking sick.
Yeah.
Be sick.
So will Barrage Lacrosse Club. Why can't we
Dude,
just have
Polar
both?
Bears and Redwoods would be fucking rivals
Why-
instantaneously
why-
just because of the logos.
Why can't we just have both? Why can't we just have Polar Bears and the Barrage?
Because we shouldn't have team names that are adverbs.
Well, we're already past that. What is the Chrome? We literally can't say Chrome.
Chrome is an adjective.
But
It's a descriptive word.
like,
Adverbs should not be team names.
it's so funny just hearing them say the Chrome.
I don't think I
the
have ever
Chrome's
called
fault.
them the Chrome.
I don't. I say Chrome.
Yeah.
But like all of the announcers say the Chrome.
Yeah, I don't call them that.
But like you think about everybody else, it's the Redwoods, the Water Dogs. Atlas is the same. Like Atlas is weird to me too. They say most of the time they say the Atlas Lacrosse Club.
That's like the person that you can't say their first name only. You got to say their full name.
Yes, like
I don't think I call Chaos the
They
Chaos.
just say whip snakes. They just say chaos. They just say cannons. They just say archers. But like Atlas and Chrome, it's like the Atlas Lacrosse Club and
Yeah.
the Chrome.
Stop doing that.
Just say the men. At that point, just say the men. The buttes.
On ESPN.
The buttes. All these buttes out here running around.
Hey, look at these beasts out here running around over there trying to get their asses over to fucking Philly for the championship game. Dude, when championship weekend comes out, Delco Dan's coming out. I'll tell you that much.
I need them crab fries.
Delco Dad is coming out on the pod.
I need them crab fries. I'm going to try and drag Quay back too.
Uh,
Get him back at Chickies and Pete's.
Shout out to Nat, Saint, Laurent for coming on the pod this week. Make sure you guys follow us on the socials at OTB Lax Pod. Watch Fate of a Sport. We'll be talking more about it, I'm sure, over the next couple of weeks with guests that we get on. But make sure you're following us at OTB Lax Pod, Twitter and Instagram. Follow DJ on Twitter at SCS_NextGreat. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Check out the website, undergroundsportsphiladelphia.com. subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. It goes a long way for more people finding the show and helping us grow. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, where you get full video episodes of OTB and all your favorite Underground Sports Philadelphia podcasts. Comment down below your thoughts on Fate of a Sport, your picks for the playoffs, all that good stuff. Obviously, some NLL news happened this week. We'll get into it. Don't worry. I know the Randy Stotts trade is massive. It's okay. We'll be talking about it. But, of course, subscribe, smash that like button, ring the bell icon. And big thank you to our sponsors, Tomahawk Shades Pickup, Kenwood Beer, and Beano Board. All of their info is linked in the description on YouTube and in the show notes on audio. And this has been episode number 237 of the allegedly award-nominated, number 9 ranked, and viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, part of the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. We'll see you in Boston. But until then, DJ and I are going to get the heck out of here. Peace.
Peace.